Hey, welcome back to GearWire.com. I'm Owen O'Malley. We've been checking out a couple of single-channel tube mic pre's from ART, and the final one we're going to look at is the Tube MP Project Series. Now, we've looked at the Tube MP, we've looked at the Tube MP Studio V3, which is basically the Tube MP plus this variable valve voicing sort of preset EQ function. And this is the last one we're going to look at. This is my favorite out of the three. It's actually the mid-priced of all of them. It offers only a few more controls than the Tube MP, the basic Tube MP does, and it doesn't have the variable valve voicing that the Studio V3 has. What it does have, though, is just sort of slightly better performance, a slightly better sound than the Tube MP, slightly better connectors. Well, let's just go through all these things. If you look at the connectors on the back of this guy, it's the same setup. You get two XLR and you get an XLR and 1/4-inch input and output. There's slightly better connections. I also really like the fact that the input here has a little XLR push lock. So, if you've got phantom power engaged, it's much easier to accidentally knock the XLR cable loose and thus risk damaging your sensitive condenser microphones. So I think that is actually quite an upgrade that you actually don't find on the more expensive Tube MP Studio V3. Like the other ART single-channel tube pre's, you get 70 dB of gain. Although you get more of that, there's 45 dB of gain in the input stage as opposed to the 5 dB of gain in the output stage. I think that probably yields a sort of better performance, a lower noise floor at higher gains. It adds a few controls that are really useful controls to the sort of baseline Tube MP. You do get this plus 20 dB gain control like you do on the Tube MP. You get a low cut filter, a rumble filter like you do on the Tube MP. It adds a 4-segment LED meter, which is maybe not as good as the analog VU meter found on the Studio VC or the Studio V3, but it's definitely an improvement over the single LED clip indicator on the Tube MP. You get your phase invert, and you got your phantom power control. What this guy adds is an impedance control, so it switches the input impedance, giving you a little bit more tonal variety depending on what kind of microphone you're using with this guy. And we'll listen to the different impedance settings on the different microphones when we get to our sound samples. Different microphones react differently to this impedance switching, but I think that it makes this guy an even more, or rather, compatible with an even wider variety of microphones than even the more expensive Studio V3, which uses this sort of EQ preset as opposed to having an impedance control. This guy also has a limiter, a soft clip limiter built in, which I think is a better limiter than the one that's included on the Studio V3, which again is slightly more expensive. This guy is $60, retails for about $60, so it's only $20 more than the baseline Tube MP, and I think outdoes it, even its more expensive sibling, the Studio V3, in terms of sonic performance and build and features. Okay, so let's listen to it on a couple of different sources. First, we're going to listen to it pushing an M-Audio Luna 2, which is a large diaphragm condenser microphone being used on vocals.
I was tuning in the shine of my late night dial, doing everything my radio advised. Every one of those late night stations playing songs, bringing tears to my eyes. I was seriously thinking about hiding the receiver when the switch broke, 'cause it's old. They're saying things that I can't hardly believe. They really think we're getting out of control. Radio is a sad salvation. Radio is cleaning up the nation. They say we better listen to the voice of reason, but they don't give you any choice, 'cause they think that it's treason. So you would better do as you were told. You better listen to the radio.
Next, we'll listen to it pushing another large diaphragm solid-state condenser mic, an Audix CX112, being used to mic some acoustic guitar. Now let's listen to it miking an electric guitar cabinet, or electric guitar combo, our House AC15. And we're going to listen to it with two different mics. First, a CAD Trion 7000, which is a ribbon mic that's used very commonly for miking electric guitar combos. And now we're going to listen to it being fed signal from an Audio-Technica dynamic instrument microphone. Last but not least, DI bass. Plug some bass DI into this guy, and let's hear what it sounds like. So there you go. That is the Tube MP Project series from ART. I think that if you're sort of choosing between the baseline Tube MP, which is itself a good unit, and this guy, which is $20 more, I think the $20 more is worth it for this guy. Just that impedance switch adds a lot. I think it's got better input and output jacks, and I think that the limiter function is useful on this guy as opposed to on the Studio V3, where I found it to be impractical. But overall, pretty good unit for 60 bucks. It's the ART Tube MP Project Series. You've been watching GearWire.com, and I'm Owen O'Malley. See you later.